This presentation is on risk adjustment and market reform. Let's rewind back to 2014 when the three R's, reinsurance, risk corridor, and risk adjustment, was established to help stabilize the exchange and improve competition in the market now that guaranteed coverage was in place. Reinsurance was this $25 billion transitional program that helped transfer funds to high risk pool organizations. Risk corridors ensured that insurance companies spent 80% of their money on healthcare, and if they fell 3% below that threshold, they paid into it. 3% above, they actually received payments. The third R, which is risk adjustment, which is avoided cherry picking, only picking healthy people by assigning a risk score and then looking at low risk profiles and high risk profiles and creating a redistributive mechanism of funds. Fast forward to 2017, reinsurance is gone, risk corridor is gone, and now we only have risk adjustment. So the question is the current risk adjustment model sustainable? When we look back at the ACA implementation, there was actually a lack of data for these new insurance companies coming in and required to be able to make future predictions of what healthcare would cost for these enrollees to establish a risk adjustment score. So we saw some of these exchanges, some of these companies just failed to do that because of the lack of data. We also saw coding variation, which is very common among physicians and insurance companies, which has a huge impact on risk adjustment scores. And also, it does not adequately address prescription drug utilization in the current risk model. So how do we fix this? There's a proposed hybrid HHS and HCC model that incorporates prescription drugs. We can also look at how we approach risk model. Concurrent, which is the exchange model, which is forecasting costs. Prospective model, which is what we see in Medicare, is basically using historical data to then predict a risk adjustment score. The third policy implementation, which is probably the most boldest, is actually implementing the Medicare Advantage model. The problem with this is if we take this in one shot is that the Medicare Advantage model actually is funded through Medicare trust funds, where the ACA risk adjustment model is actually redistributed in the market. So we'd have to go to Congress and get a whole new pot of money to use for healthcare. I don't think that's going to happen right now. So what we can do is we can take a small piece of the Medicare model, which is actually payment adjustment, to reflect upcoding variation. The Bureau of Economics released a study saying that upcoding cost the government $2.2 billion in 2015. If we're able to kind of take some of the lessons learned that we saw in Medicare, apply them to the state exchange, we can avoid some volatility in the market now that reinsurance and risk corridor is gone.